Let's bring in Israeli government spokesman Eylon Levy now. Eylon, thanks for taking the time. What are your expectations for President Biden's visit tomorrow?
Thank you for having me on the show, Jose and Anna. Israel is very much looking forward to welcoming President Biden to Israel tomorrow on an extraordinary solidarity visit. Let's remember the context. For the President of the United States to fly into an active war zone to express solidarity is really a gesture by a true ally, a president who said right at the beginning of the attack, after the October 7th massacre, when Hamas butchered now 1,400 Israelis, over 4,000 injured, 200 in captivity, immediately ordering the U.S. Army to make sure that Israel has all the supplies it needs, giving it the moral support that we need by making clear to the world that Hamas is ISIS, Hamas is worse than ISIS. And we view the visit by President Biden as a loving embrace for every family whose life has been destroyed by the October 7th massacre, every soldier on the front, every citizen in Israel who is worried about what comes next. And that support really speaks immense volumes, both the moral support and, as we just heard from your correspondent, the material support that the United States is extending to Israel at its darkest hour.
Will this visit have any impact on military plans? Could it delay a potential ground invasion of Gaza?
I'm not going to speculate about the precise time frame for the next stage of Israel's operation, but we've been very clear. This is a war that Hamas has dragged Israel into with the act of war, the war crime of the October 7th massacre. And Israel's response is that we will destroy Hamas. We will totally dismantle its military and governing system inside the Gaza Strip. We will go after every single Hamas terrorist who played a role and perpetrated that massacre. We will go after them because Israel has made a strategic decision. We can no longer live next to this ISIS-style terrorist organization that controls a strip of territory an hour away from Tel Aviv, but just meters away from people's homes, as we saw during that awful massacre. That's not a reality that we can live with any longer. And we're going to go after Hamas and destroy it, just like the international community destroyed ISIS, because we want the same security that the West achieved by destroying ISIS, and because we deserve nothing less.
Eylon, the Israeli government told Palestinians in North Gaza to evacuate to South Gaza, yet we've seen airstrikes in southern Gaza. How can civilians get to safety?
That's a very interesting observation. Israel is indeed asking residents in the northern Gaza Strip to move south temporarily for their own safety, because we know that in the northern Gaza Strip, where Hamas has its biggest concentration of military power, there is going to be very difficult fighting. And we want them to get out of harm's way because we don't want to see any more civilian casualties. By the way, Israel has also evacuated its own civilians from the area immediately around the Gaza Strip, the area that witnessed the massacre on the 7th of October, as well as evacuating all the communities within 2 kilometers of the Lebanese border. We're trying to get civilians on both sides of the border as far away from the fighting as possible. Now, this was an evacuation the IDF encouraged on Friday. You can see that we're giving time for Palestinians to vacate. The IDF announced safe roads as well, on which the Palestinians would be able to move. And we're encouraging them to go south. And we're working together with our international partners, including the United States, as Secretary Blinken said in that sync we just heard, in order to create the humanitarian frameworks where they are able to get that humanitarian aid, of course, subject to the safeguards that we are entitled to under international humanitarian law, to make sure that that aid that the international community wants to send Palestinian civilians doesn't end up in the hands of the Hamas terror machine.
Respectfully, I'm not sure you answered the question, though, about why the strikes were happening in the South, where you just said you wanted people to go.
First of all, Israel is not saying that the south of the Gaza Strip is totally off limits to Israeli retaliation against Hamas. All Hamas military targets are legitimate targets. We are saying, however, that the most intense fighting is going to be in the north. That's why we're encouraging people to get away from the north. And we're working together with our international partners to create safe zones in the south where people will be able to get more safety than in the north. But that absolutely does not mean that Israel is giving blanket immunity to the Hamas terrorist infrastructure that exists in the south of the Gaza Strip. We've been very clear. Hamas is ISIS. It's worse than ISIS. And we're going after the totality of its military and governing structure in order to destroy it, while doing everything we can to minimize any harm to civilians within the Gaza Strip.
And Eylon, again, when we show that map, I think it's important to put it into context and into perspective. The fact is that all of that border between Gaza and Israel was the one that was attacked and destroyed parts of so that the terrorists could get into Israel and kill men, women, and children. There is the part of the map there that shows Egypt. Where is the solidarity of the people of Egypt and Qatar and other countries that should be, as a priority, organizing all kinds of efforts to get in and opening that gate?
First of all, I want to thank you for drawing attention again to the horrific atrocities that we saw on the 7th of October. It's very important to continue shining a spotlight as your teams, international media around the world continue to uncover evidence of the atrocities that Hamas perpetrated. Israel, of course, wants to see humanitarian aid being delivered to the people in the Gaza Strip. We don't want to see people being hurt. This is a war that Israel is fighting not against the Palestinians, not against the Gaza Strip, against Hamas, against the evil terrorist regime that is holding the people in the Gaza Strip hostage. We want to see that aid reaching civilians. We're happy for the world to donate humanitarian aid, but we have to make sure that it doesn't get to Hamas. I mean, just yesterday, UNRWA, a UN agency, admitted that Hamas had stolen fuel and medicine from its own stockpiles for its war machine. And our army has confirmed that is enough fuel that could keep Gaza's desalination plants running for 6 whole days. And that was requisitioned by Hamas in order to fuel its own war machine against Israel. So international aid for the civilians of Gaza, that is absolutely fine as far as Israel is concerned. But we and the international donors as well must have safeguards that that doesn't reach the hands of the Hamas terrorist regime.
The World Food Program just a few hours ago said there are only 4 or 5 days left of food right now inside Gaza. And as we've been reporting, right now, humanitarian aid is not flowing in and people who are trying to escape are not getting out. Eylon, Levy, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today.